Imagine waking in a world where a scratch could kill you. Not in a hospital room, not in a house. On the cold ground beside a dying fire. Your arm burns where a stone blade slipped yesterday. The cut is red now, swollen. There are no antibiotics, no emergency room, no pharmacy glowing at the edge of town. Only a handful of people sitting around the fire, watching. And somehow, despite living in a world like this for hundreds of thousands of years, humans survived. How? A young boy sits beneath a rocky overhang while rain drums against the earth outside. He's burning with fever. His mother presses a hand against his forehead. An older woman kneels beside them. She has seen this before. She leaves the shelter and disappears into the trees. When she returns, her hands are full of bark and bitter leaves. The bark is boiled, the leaves are crushed, the child drinks, then everyone waits. No one knows what bacteria are. No one has heard the word immune system. Yet generation after generation, people have learned something important. Certain plants help, certain plants don't. And remembering the difference can mean the survival of a child. Long before medicine became science, it was memory. Now picture a hunter limping toward camp. Blood runs down his leg. The wound is deep. 1,000 years from now, a doctor would worry about infection. The people around the fire don't know that word, but they know something else. Dirty wounds kill, so they clean it. A woman heats water over the fire. Another brings honey. The wound is washed. The honey is packed inside. Then they wait. At first, this doesn't make sense. How could people without science know what worked? Because survival is a brutal teacher. Families that discovered useful treatments passed those discoveries to their children. Families that didn't often vanished. Over thousands of years, experience became knowledge. And knowledge became tradition. Today, archaeologists sometimes uncover ancient skeletons with broken bones that healed perfectly. A man with a shattered leg survived long enough for the bone to knit back together. A woman with severe arthritis lived for years after she could no longer hunt. Someone fed them, someone carried them, someone stayed. Which raises another question. If life was so dangerous, why do we find so many people who survive serious injuries? Because humans possess something more powerful than any plant: each other. Long before hospitals existed, there was family. The first healthcare system wasn't a building. It was a circle of people refusing to leave one another behind. As night falls, sparks rise into the darkness. Fire is doing more than keeping predators away. A pot of water boils beside the flames. Nobody understands germs, but they notice something. People who drink boiled water often get sick less frequently. Meat cooked over fire causes fewer problems than meat eaten raw. Roots become softer, food becomes easier to digest. Parasites die, dangerous organisms die. Calories become easier to absorb. Without realizing it, humans are performing chemistry every single day. Fire becomes the world's first health technology. Not because anyone understands why it works, because it works. Far from the camp, a small group moves across open grassland. They rarely stay in one place for long. A sickness appears. Several people cough. A few become weak. Then something strange happens. The illness disappears. The group is too small. There aren't enough people for the disease to keep spreading. Today, scientists know many diseases require large populations to survive, but early humans didn't need to understand the science. Their lifestyle protected them anyway. A sickness that could tear through a modern city might struggle to survive among 30 people constantly on the move. The story should end here, but it doesn't, because eventually humans stop moving. A farmer wakes before sunrise. Rows of grain stretch across the horizon. For the first time in human history, food is plentiful enough for people to stay in one place. Villages appear, then towns, then cities. At first, it seems like a miracle. More food, more children, more safety. But every gift has a price. The same closeness that creates civilization creates something else. Opportunity, not for humans, for disease. Picture a narrow street in one of the world's first cities. Children run between houses, animals sleep nearby. Waste gathers where rainwater collects. Thousands of people live together. A cough starts somewhere, then another, then another. For the first time, diseases have enough hosts to keep moving forever. Illnesses that once died out in small groups now spread endlessly. Smallpox, measles, epidemics humanity had never faced before. The very thing that made civilization possible also made it vulnerable. But here's where things get interesting. Humans adapt. Again, a healer sits beside a patient in ancient Egypt. Nearby, a scribe records treatments onto papyrus. Across the world, another healer presses herbs into wounds. Elsewhere, engineers build drains beneath city streets. People are beginning to specialize. Some become builders, some become healers, some become observers. The first medical systems are taking shape, not because anyone understands microbes, because enough people have watched sickness long enough to recognize patterns. Then comes a ship. It arrives at a crowded port. The sailors look exhausted. Rumors spread. Someone aboard is sick. The city leaders make a decision. Nobody leaves the ship. Not yet. The crew waits. Days pass, then weeks. 40 days. The origin of the word quarantine. And again, nobody knows about bacteria. Nobody knows about viruses. Yet separating the sick from the healthy works. Not perfectly, but often enough. Humanity keeps discovering solutions before understanding the science behind them. In another town, a young mother gives birth. The baby is tiny, fragile. Everyone worries. An older woman encourages the mother to nurse immediately. The baby drinks. What nobody can see is that the mother's milk carries protection. Tiny biological defenses built over millions of years. The infant's immune system begins learning from the moment life begins. Generation after generation, countless children survive because biology itself is helping them. The body is not waiting helplessly for medicine to arrive. It has been fighting its own battles all along. Centuries pass, cities grow, knowledge spreads. A traveler carries an idea from one region to another. A merchant carries a recipe. A healer learns a new treatment. An old remedy survives because it works. Honey remains, willow bark remains, fermented foods remain. Not every traditional treatment was effective. Many were not. But the ones that genuinely helped had a way of surviving the centuries. Because people remembered. And memory became culture. Then one day, a doctor stands beside a water pump in London. People around him are dying from cholera. Most believe the disease spreads through bad air. But the doctor notices something strange. The deaths cluster around a single pump. The answer surprises everyone. The water is making people sick. The handle is removed. The outbreak begins to fade. It's one of the most important moments in medical history. Not because a cure was discovered, because attention was. Sometimes survival comes from a new medicine. Sometimes it comes from simply noticing what everyone else missed. Eventually, microscopes reveal an invisible world. Germs finally have names. Vaccines appear. Antibiotics follow. For the first time, humanity can fight many diseases directly instead of merely surviving them. But if you look closely, the story hasn't really changed. The medicines are new. The principles are ancient: clean water, safe food, isolation during outbreaks, care for the vulnerable. Knowledge passed between generations. The same ideas that helped a child survive beside a prehistoric fire still help people today. And maybe that's the strangest part of the story. When we imagine survival before modern medicine, we picture helplessness. But humanity was never helpless. A mother watching over a feverish child, a hunter carrying an injured friend home, a healer experimenting with plants, a village building cleaner water systems, a city keeping a ship anchored offshore. Again and again, people found ways to stay alive long before they understood exactly why those ways worked. Which leaves one final question. If modern medicine disappeared tomorrow, what would remain? Beneath the hospitals, beneath the pharmacies, beneath every scientific breakthrough we've ever made, would we still recognize the older medicine that carried humanity through most of its history? The fire, the family, the clean water, the shared knowledge, the circle of people who refused to let someone face sickness alone. Because long before medicine became a profession, it was a relationship. And in many ways, it still is.